Landlords in Maricopa County, Arizona, where Phoenix is located, filed the highest number of evictions in a single month since the beginning of the century. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the absolute tsunami of evictions that's going on in the Phoenix metropolitan area, and specifically within Maricopa County, Arizona. So, man, I covered a story just a short while ago talking about how there have been just a huge increase in the number of evictions filed up in the Phoenix metropolitan area, and it looks like it's only getting worse. Things are getting worse for the people there, and I think what it has to do with is that the town it's a real estate place. It's a place where there are a lot of real estate investors out there. There's a lot of people who are renting housing out there. There's a huge amount of population growth out there. And we're just going to see, as the market changes, as interest rates go up, as rents increase, as inflation increases, we're going to see more evictions, especially now that there's a lot less tenant protections because, the pandemic is over. Pandemic is over. It's been over for Arizona for quite a while now, but there still were more programs available that provided rental assistance, etc. So, yeah, we're going to see just a lot of evictions going on right now. It kind of tells you that, hey, maybe the economy is not as strong as what certain people have been saying, okay? I personally believe that we are almost to the point of where it will be undeniable that we are facing a recession or major economic issues in this country. So, I believe I just heard that they did not increase interest rates. The Fed didn't increase interest rates. So that at least is good for now. But the question is, by them not increasing interest rates, are we going to see more inflation? I don't know. It's such a crazy amount of stuff going on right now. I'm not surprised that, hey, a lot of people are struggling because prices have gone up so much. And the only way to get those prices back in check is by increasing interest rates. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Who knows? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So I've covered several stories now about how different places throughout the country have had some of their highest amount of eviction filings in recent history. A lot of it had to do with pandemic protections ending, but like I said, pandemic protections in Arizona have been over for quite a while, so it obviously goes beyond that, okay? And I believe it has to do with just the rising cost of everything. It's making it a lot harder for tenants to be able to afford rent. Pay is not keeping pace with that, but not the landlord's responsibility. Our responsibility is to make sure that we can maintain our businesses, and we are not going to artificially keep the rents low to keep tenants up in there. No, we're going to still charge what we need to charge in order to make our numbers work correctly. And if that hurts certain tenants, I'm sorry, but that's just the way that the free market works. And that is the best possible way for us to get back to normalcy at some point in time. So yeah, if it means that you have to cut back in other places, if it means you have to take on extra hours at your current job, if it means you have to get a second job, or maybe downsize to a more affordable housing, right? Then do whatever's necessary. My personal opinion is that you should do everything necessary before you face eviction. And then if you are facing eviction, you should talk to your landlord and tell them, hey, I can't afford this place. I need to go. Okay? Don't trash the place. Don't try to stay in there. If you're not paying the rent, you know you're going to be evicted. There's no case to fight. Get the heck up out of there. It's just not worth your time and your embarrassment of having your stuff put out on the curb, okay? So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from abc15.com, and it says why eviction filings have surged in Maricopa County. And it has a little video with it. I'll play part of that video for you right now.
Maricopa County court officials announcing Thursday landlords filed 7,948 eviction complaints in October. The previous monthly record was 7,902 in September of 2005.
I don't know exactly what the issue is now, except that the rents are very, very high.
Judge Anna Huberman says a large majority of the cases are for non-payment of rent.
Mostly what we see in court are hardships. Are people who couldn't pay because something happened, they had a financial hardship and they weren't able to pay. But normally we cannot consider that as a defense to the non-payment of rent.
But not every eviction complaint leads to an actual eviction.
Any case where the tenant actually can come up with the money that they owe before the judgment signed, those cases are dismissed and will be sealed.
All right, you saw the video. Let's get into the article. Eviction filings have surged in Maricopa County amid an ongoing housing supply crisis. Landlords filed a record number of eviction complaints last month, which is higher than any month since the beginning of this century. Nancy Palmer told ABC 15 that her family had been evicted before due to a job loss during the pandemic. They were receiving subsidized housing for 2 years at around $700 a month. Now, that help is over, and rent for them is nearly $2,000. There's really nothing out there, and now we have bad credit and bad reputation and an eviction on us. Who wants us? Said Palmer. Believe me, there still are landlords who will rent to you. There still are places that are affordable, but it might not be where you want to live. It might be in a pretty bad, rough part of town. It might be in a trailer park, living in a pretty dumpy place. There are, like I said, just because you have an eviction on your record, just because you have bad credit doesn't mean no one will rent to you. It just means it's going to be a lot harder. That's why I tell people, don't even waste your time fighting these cases, because maybe with just the eviction filing on your record and not the full eviction, you'll have a slightly better chance. But a lot of these problems are caused by people who they just don't have financial intelligence. Okay, they don't know how to manage their finances, and they end up upside down. So this lady here had the government subsidizing the grand majority of the cost of her rent, and once the government didn't subsidize it anymore, guess what? She couldn't afford it. So you see what the problem is when you put somebody under a socialist system where the government is paying your bills for you, and then they take that away. Well, the person has no clue how to pay their own bills at that point, and no ability to pay their own bills. So you're actually creating people who are 100% dependent upon the government to take care of them. So it would have been better if she had never received anything, in my opinion, because then she would have been put in a sink or swim position where she had to take care of herself because there was nobody there to prop her up, okay? There was no government money there to support her. Maricopa County court officials announced Thursday that landlords filed 7,948 eviction complaints in October. The previous monthly record was 7,902 in September of 2005. I don't know exactly what the issue is now, except for the rents are very, very high, said honorary, Judge Anna Huberman, presiding judge for the Maricopa County Justice Courts. Judge Anna Huberman said a large majority of the cases are for non-payment of rent. Most of what we see in court are hardships, are people who couldn't pay because something happened. They had a financial hardship and they weren't able to pay. But normally we cannot consider that as a defense to the non-payment of rent, said Honor Huberman. And you absolutely cannot look at, hey, somebody had a hardship, so that's a good excuse for them not paying rent, because everyone, and I mean absolutely everyone, experiences some sort of hardship. And it's unfortunate that some people are so close to, the bottom line when it comes to income that they don't have any emergency reserves to cover themselves for when something bad happens. So what would be a common thing that, I learned because I did the Dave Ramsey plan a long time ago would be to have 3 to 6 months of emergency reserves just in case something happens, just in case you get injured, just in case you suffer a job loss, just in case you have a major bill like a medical bill or a car repair or something that needs to be paid. Then you don't end up upside down and then unable to pay for your housing and end up without housing, okay? That's what Dave Ramsey suggests. That's why I tell everybody, this is really a scenario where the true issue is lack of financial education. Poor finances are what's causing this, not greedy landlords. Greedy landlords are not causing these problems. Okay, these people, they have lower incomes, but that's no reason not to have your finances right. So you have too much debt, you have too many payments, you don't have any emergency reserves, and your credit is basically destroyed. And yet you sit there and you're like, oh, well, it's the landlord's fault for wanting the rent that I promised I'd pay them. No, it's your fault. It's what you need to take care of. And, it's just a common issue nowadays, just a lot of people who are unwilling to accept personal responsibility for their financial situation. Not every eviction complaint leads to an actual eviction. Any case where the tenant actually can come up with the money that they owe before the judgment is signed, those cases are dismissed and will be sealed, said Honor Huberman. Census figures showed that between July 2021 and July 2022, Maricopa County saw the largest population boom in the country. Since then, there hasn't been enough housing to keep up with the demand. The Arizona Department of Housing said the state is seeing a severe shortage. And that right there is telling you why we're seeing increases in rents, even in a place like Phoenix. Now, believe me, if you look at the number of new rental dwellings or new housing dwellings that are built within the United States, I guarantee that Phoenix, Arizona, the metropolitan area, Maricopa County, is probably in the top 5 of all major cities in the entire country of the number of housing units that are being built. Yet they still are not building enough. And part of it has to do with the raise in interest rates right now, because a lot of the developers, they can't borrow money as cheaply as they used to. So it's costing them a lot more money in order to build housing. And that means that they're going to have to charge a lot more for that new housing when it comes online. So everything is interconnected here, right? If we saw the government come out there and say, okay, we're going to really push so that these municipalities, these cities can build a lot more new housing by, keeping our interest rates super low, or maybe having a super low interest rate lending program for real estate developers, then we might see a lot more affordable housing come online, but we're just not seeing that right now. And I don't know if the government can afford to do that right now with all their different obligations and all their different debts all throughout the country. So, right now we're just faced with a situation where a city like Phoenix, an area like Maricopa County that's facing a huge boom in population, they just don't have enough housing for the people who live there. The costs are going up. And then we have the people on the very bottom rungs of the income ladder who are facing more evictions because they don't have a financial education. So interesting story. I'll put a link to the article in the description down below so that you can read the rest of it.